Hello, this is Leo Rothschild. Some of you might remember me from Pipelines and Turbines. My co-host Jason Switzer and Janet Ansley are here too. I have some news for you. Pipelines and Turbines is coming back in 2026.
Just like another reunion tour of another band from the 80s.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, we're like the new kids on the block or the Backstreet Boys. And
I
and
like to
you're
think we're
all,
more like the Rolling Stones, you guys.
yeah,
Come on,
classic,
Leor. You're like Mick
everlasting.
Jagger.
Timeless, maybe
Timeless.
immortal.
Classic.
Just reflecting for a moment, when we started Pipelines and Turbines many years ago, it was really inspired by the Pan-Canadian climate framework that was in place, and we entered an era where Canada and North America was looking at energy and climate in a new way. And it feels like we're entering a whole new era. And in this era, it's really one where Canada is redefining itself as an energy nation and is talking about building new infrastructure, sending resources to Asia while dramatically reducing emissions. That's complex. I don't think we all even here agree on how to get there, but we're going to unpack it together.
Well, 2026 will be the year of the good, the bad, and the ugly. But it's time for us to get real as Canadians. And, I think we have to embrace some radical honesty. Because, like you say, Leor, we've been wading through all these tough issues over the last couple of years. We've been really diving in on social performance and DEI and how we're going to look at net zero targets. But I think what we've learned is some of these things are a lot harder than they sound. And when we look at something like greenwashing, the finger's often pointed at companies, but one of the things that's becoming very, very true is that the government has actually been the chief culprit that laying out some of these 2050 targets for net zero when we have no plan, we have no investment, really exposes that the emperor has no clothes. So we've got to start to dive in, understand how we're going to drive investment, how we're going to access new markets, how we're going to talk to communities and drive Indigenous reconciliation so that we can eke out Canada's new place in the world. Because guess what, everyone? We're in a war. We're in an energy war. We're in a trade war. We're in an economic war. And energy is going to be at the center of this, from pipelines and turbines to batteries to critical minerals. I think we've got to talk about it all. We've got a lot to do.
I think we got to talk about how we build stuff. I think energy and environment is a really good frame. So going back to why we started pipelines and turbines was that we needed to build turbines and solve the pipeline conundrum in Canada. And it was a good framing for us to use to kind of put our finger on energy and environment issues in Canada. But I think now it's a much bigger story about national security. We need to rebuild the military. We need to get shit done in a way that we've never done before in our generation. We need to kind of figure out how to thread the needle on these things at scale and faster than other countries that are kind of coming for us. And we're about to kick off yet another round of trying to do a taxonomy for sustainable finance in this country, which feels like 2015 all over again. So we
Right.
need to get real, Janet. I'm so with you.
You know, when you talk about the taxonomy, how are we going to differentiate this time? What are we going to do differently so it's not 2015 all over again? So you and I go way back to Shell and setting some climate targets for the oil sands back to, dare I say, 2005. So we've been doing this. I like to say it's like days of our lives. You turn it on 10 years later and Bo and Hope are still dating. But, there's there's no end to the soap opera here. But we've actually got to start thinking about how we're going to drive investment that can't, really be about, rainbows and unicorn farts, that we've actually got to start talking how we're going to drive investment through sustainable taxonomy into the next marginal abatement opportunity. So we got to get radically honest.
Hopefully we can skip over like the season where Marlena was possessed by the devil and get right to back to the the forward progress here.
I didn't
Um,
realize you were such a close watcher, Leor. That's good to know. It just feels like we can't get stuff done, and we really got to get shit done. So I'm really excited to bring in guests that are going to give us some insights from a national security perspective. How do we if we can't build this stuff, how the heck are we going to kind of defend our country in the face of an increasingly hostile world? So I think this is Pipelines and Turbines 2.0. It's going to be grown up and meatier, and focused on the fact that we need to square the circle on both climate and national security.
Our Prime Minister, Mark Carney, recently said that we're not going to achieve our 2030 and 2035 targets with the policies we have in place. So new policies are going to be needed. And I'm looking forward to bringing onto the pod people who are on the inside where the sausage is being made that can help us maneuver through what kind of policies are being considered, what's coming, and how is the business community responding, and whether it's business professionals working on large energy infrastructure projects or people in community renewable energy cooperatives. We want to bring it all together. Some of you who've followed us on SoundCloud or Apple Podcasts, please find us there. Again, you're going to see us on YouTube as well this time around, and possibly a couple of other platforms that we'll announce here soon. But 2026, the year that Pipelines and Turbines is coming back, and we want you along for this journey, and we want to hear from you in terms of what you're thinking about, what you're concerned about, what you want to hear more from us about. Thank you.
Happy holidays, everyone, and look forward to seeing you in 2026.
Make it good.